Okay, I'm back. I've got the chicken shredded, and I'm going to give you the ingredients for the Brunswick stew now. We're going to need 4 cups of shredded cooked chicken. I have 4 cups of cubed potatoes, but mine is not quite cubes. I like it a little bit bigger, probably like that. And I have 4 cups of that. We have 2 cups of coarsely chopped onions, 2 cups of whole kernel corn, 1 cup of lima beans, a half cup of tomato sauce, 2 quarts of chicken stock, organic chicken stock, and we have 3 tablespoons of paprika, smoked paprika. It has to be smoked paprika to give it that great flavor. So it's 3 tablespoons of smoked paprika, 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt. You don't want to put too much salt in it, but you test it to taste. And then last but not least, 1/8 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And if you like it more spicy, you can go ahead and do it a little more spicy. But I'm just giving it to you where it'll give it that zesty little zippy little flavor. So the first thing that you're going to do is we're going to add the chicken stock. I like organic chicken stock because that's just me. I try to use organic vegetables, organic chicken stock, organic chicken. So we're going to put the stock inside the pot. 2 quarts, because we need all of the juice. Get all that deliciousness in there. Okay. Got all that in there. And then we're going to add the chicken. So let's get the chicken in there. You can put the heat on probably to medium high to start off with. That's what I would do. That's what I do, medium high. So we're going to get the 4 cups of shredded cooked chicken in there. Got that in there. And we're going to put the 2 cups of onions. Because you want that to cook in there and give it the flavor, the delicious flavor. Get that in there. Then we're going to put the tomato sauce. And this is a 1/2 cup of tomato sauce. We're going to get that in there. Because this is what's going to season it and make it taste so, so delicious. So let's get that in there. And then we're going to put the 3 tablespoons of smoked paprika. Make sure it's smoked paprika. So we get that in there. We stir that all in there. Get it all blended. That's what makes it so red. Then we're going to put the 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt. Got the sea salt in there. And we're going to put the 8th. This is an 1/8 teaspoon of cayenne. That's what I'm going to start off with because I don't want to make it too spicy. And I just wanted to have that little zip. So we're going to stir that all together. Get it all mixed in there. And then we're going to let it cook for a while. We're not going to add the other ingredients. We're not going to add the lima beans or the corn or the potatoes. You cook that in increments. So I'm going to let the chicken with the stock cook for about 15 minutes. Then in 15 minutes, we'll add something else. So let's let it cook for about 15-20 minutes, then we'll add something else. Okay, so now we've had the chicken with the broth and the seasonings cooking for about 15 minutes. So now we're gonna add the corn to it. So let's just add the 2 cups of corn, whole kernel corn. It could be fresh or frozen, it's up to you. But I choose frozen because I don't want to have to cook to get some corn off the cob. So I just get some frozen corn, 2 cups of frozen corn. Add it to the broth mixture. Let it cook about 10 minutes, and then we'll add the lima beans, and last but not least, we add the potatoes. The potatoes go in at the very last. We're going to add the lima beans in 15 minutes. Okay, the corn has been cooking about 15 minutes in now. Now we're gonna add the lima beans, and this is a cup of baby lima beans. I like the baby lima beans because they're smaller, they're not real big, because you know lima beans are pretty big. So we're gonna take the lid off. We're gonna sweep in those baby lima beans in there. Gonna stir it all up. And we're gonna let those cook in there for about 10 minutes. Probably 10 minutes, about 10 minutes. Just gonna put them in there, let them cook for 10 minutes. And the last thing to go in, and the last, after this cooks 10 minutes, is gonna be the potatoes. And we're gonna cook the potatoes until they're tender. You don't want to cook them away where they'll ground up and just be all mushy in there and it'll break all apart. You want to still keep them together, but you want them to be tender. So I don't know how long that's going to take, maybe 10 more minutes after the lima beans. But in the meantime, while that's cooking, I'm going to get the ingredients ready for my mother's famous cornbread. My mother makes the best cornbread you have ever tasted. I am going to try to replicate it, but I'm not so sure it's going to be exact, but it'll be good because she has a secret that she uses that I don't think very many people would agree with, but let me tell you, it makes the cornbread wonderful. So I'm going to get all the ingredients together and then I'll tell you what they are and we'll pop it in the oven. Okay, so I've had the lima beans cooking in the pot of broth with the chicken and everything for 10 minutes. So I'm going to drain the potatoes now because you don't want to put that water that I had them soaking in. I just soaked them in water so they don't turn brown because potatoes will turn brown if they're not soaked in water. So I drained the potatoes off and this is 4 cups of potatoes. So this is the last step. I'm going to add the potatoes to the pot. And we're gonna let them cook just long enough for the potatoes to get tender. So we're gonna put that in there, put that lid back on there and let them get to cooking. And now I'm going to preheat the oven, 350 degrees. And we're going to attempt to make my mother's famous cornbread because like I say, nobody can make it like she makes it. So my first step is I am going to add, well, let me give you the ingredients first. 1 cup of flour, 1 1/3 cups of cornmeal, 2 eggs, 1 cup of milk, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and here's the secret, the dynamic secret. 2 tablespoons of baking powder. Whoever thought that you would use 2 tablespoons of baking powder in a cornbread? I never did. I would have said 2 teaspoons, but not 2 tablespoons. But she used 2 tablespoons of baking powder. And then I have some oil. I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of the oil to the cornbread mixture, but the rest of it is gonna go in the pan that we're gonna cook the cornbread in the oven. And then 1 cup of milk. So there you have it, the ingredients. So first of all, we're gonna put the flour in the cornmeal. And I'm just gonna blend them together. You wanna get it all blended together. Evenly distributed throughout it. Just blend the cornmeal and the flour all nicely together. Then I'm gonna take the egg and I am going to beat my eggs because like I say, I don't add eggs without mixing them together because they'll separate and then you have yolk in one place and then you have the white in the other place. So I just mix it all together. So we're gonna pour that in and kind of mix it in there a little bit. The baking powder is the very last thing to go into the cornbread. We're gonna add the sugar, the 2 tablespoons of sugar, because if you add too much, then it'll be too sweet, and then nobody likes sweet cornbread unless you wanna mix it with milk. And then I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of veggie oil. That's it, just 1 teaspoon of the veggie oil. Mix this what I have right here. Try to get it combined. And then I'm gonna add milk. And I'm gonna add the milk a little bit at a time. So we'll start off with like a third of a cup. Then we'll mix it because you want to get it to the desired consistency, not too wet. You know, you want it where it'll pour, but you don't want it like watery. So you add a little bit at a time. Add another third of a cup. Mix it up. Add another bit, half of that. Mix it up. See how it's working out? It's getting easier to stir. Okay, great. Looking good. And I think I'm gonna add the rest of it. Lovely. So let's see how it looks with the rest of it added in there. And the very last thing to go in there is going to be the baking powder. I forgot to get the pan to cook it in. I am going to use this size. So it's a 2.2 quart Pyrex dish. So I'm going to pour the oil in here to cover the bottom of it, like that, the rest of the oil. And then I'm going, it's really important because this is what gives you the good crust. You have to put the dish that you're going to cook the bread in the oven and let it heat with the dish that you're cooking the bread in. So the oil is going to heat in here. So we're going to put it in here and let it heat. And we're going to wait till that oven is heated all the way before we add the baking powder. But in the meantime, we can check on the soup. The Brunswick stew, not soup, stew. So it's looking good. Yeah, this is going to be great. This is such great comfort food, and that's what I'm doing. It's fall now, so it's time for comfort food. You know, when you come out from outdoors and you've been a little chilled all day, even if it's not real cold, but the wind is blowing and you got those cool temperatures, you just want something warm and soothing in your tummy. I know I do. So that's why I'm doing comfort food all the month, all these couple of last 3 months of the year. So we're just waiting on the oven to preheat. And when the oven is preheated, we're going to add the baking powder lastly. Alright, so the oven has heated to 350 degrees. I'm going to add the baking powder. And because there's so much baking powder, I don't want it to clump. I'm going to do it with a whisk. You want to whisk it in there so it doesn't clump up. Little by little. You don't pour it and dump it in all at once. You pour it little by little. And you whisk it in there so it doesn't clump up. You don't want to overwork it though. You know, you just beat it just enough to get it mixed in with the cornbread mix, with the flour and the cornmeal and the eggs and the milk and the sugar. Just get it just enough. Now we can get the baking dish out of the oven. And you can see that the oil is all spread around all over it. So now we can just put the corn bread in the baking dish. Get it all in there. And you can see I don't know if you can see the oil bubbling once you put it in there, but that's what you want because it gives it a great crust. So just spread it a little and then put it right back in the oven for 20, 25, 30 minutes. Just depends until the edges get brown and it's cooked all the way through. All right, let's get it back in the oven. And I'm going to set my timer for 25 minutes. So once we get the cornbread out, we'll be able to plate the Brunswick stew and cut a piece of cornbread and let you see how delicious it looks. But this Brunswick stew, let's check it real quick. Let's check the potatoes. You want the potatoes to be pork tender, and they are. So those potatoes were added to the pot, and I let them cook 15 minutes after I added it to the pot. That's all it takes for them to get pork tender. And if you cut them smaller, it'll take less time for them to become pork tender, but if you cut them larger, it's gonna take more time. So you have to make allowances for that. So let's let the cornbread cook. It's in the oven. It's on 350 degrees. We're gonna let it cook for about 25 minutes. Then I'll take it out. I'll cut it because I love hot cornbread. We'll cut it hot. We'll add it and we'll plate the Brunswick stew. Alrighty, I have the cornbread out of the oven. We are going to plate the Brunswick stew for you to see. So let's get it out of the pot and into the plate. All this wonderful deliciousness. You should be able, we need smell-o-vision. I always say we need smell-o-vision, but you really should be able to smell this. It just smells so incredibly delicious. I will let you see how it looks with all the delicious chicken all in it, and the potatoes and the corn and the lima beans. We're gonna put that right there. We're going to cut the cornbread because it's nice and hot. It's better to cut it while it's hot and delicious. So let's get it cut like that. It looks nice and fluffy like my mom makes it, but we gotta taste it to see. It's all nice and cut. One of the pieces, nothing like a hot piece of cornbread with. And I like the corners. So let me get me a corner right here. Get my spoon. Look how light and fluffy it looks. Look at this. Look at how delicious that looks. Let's take a little quick bite. Good. I did a good job. Wow. It's really, really good. So I'm gonna set that there. Gonna get a little bite of everything on here because this is super hot. Gotta cool it off. I don't want to put it in my mouth. It'll burn my lips off. Oh my gosh. It's so good. Get me a bite of cornbread. Well, I think I'm gonna pinch it because it's really super hot too. What's that? Oh, it's so good. I gotta get another bite. So good. If you want a hot and delicious and hearty meal, then by all means make this. This is a Brunswick stew and homemade cornbread. Thank you so much for watching Kathy's Creole Kitchen on YouTube. Thank you for subscribing. Get your friends to subscribe. Leave me comments. Let me know if you made it, how you liked it. And please hit the like button. It's so important that you get everybody to hit the like button. If you look at the video and you like it, please remember to hit that like button. And that's that thumbs up button. I really need you guys to do that. And let me recap the ingredients for the Brunswick stew. I have it written down. I write everything down so I don't forget it. It's right here. So for the Brunswick stew, I have 4 cups of cubed potatoes, but I don't cube them small, it's big. I have 2 cups of thinly sliced, chopped, coarsely chopped yellow onions, 2 cups of frozen kernel corn thawed out, 1 cup of baby lima beans, frozen and thawed out, a 1/2 cup tomato sauce, 64 ounces of chicken broth, 4 cups of shredded chicken, 3 tablespoons of smoked paprika, and I upped the salt a little bit because I tasted it in the salt. It wasn't quite salty enough, so I put a teaspoon of salt, sea salt, and 1/8 teaspoon of red pepper. And that's the ingredients. And for the cornbread, you got 1 cup of flour, 1 1/3 cups of cornmeal, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 2 eggs, 1 teaspoon of veggie oil inside the mix, 1 cup of milk, and 2 tablespoons of baking powder. That baking powder is so important. I know you think that's a lot, but it's not. It made the cornbread come out light and fluffy and wonderful. Well, I want to just tell you thank you so much for watching Kathy's Creole Kitchen, and tune in again next week for some more delicious comfort food. Thank you so much, and y'all have a wonderful weekend.